Welcome to the Prophecy Club. I really got two topics I can talk about today. One is I'm going to call this the plan to oust Donald Trump, November the 5th. And I just talked about the last day's battle has begun, and really, both of them, probably the last three or four programs, really sort of given the same warning. Now, I want you to look at the flag behind me. I do not know for certain that that is going to be our new flag. That is what one person sent me and told me that they are planning for the new republic. I say that because information tells me we are right at the door. And I'm about to bring you some information that I think is going to be shocking. Okay, this you already know. But what we don't know is when it starts. When does the internal revolution start? I think I'm going to be able to show you November the 5th. I, it's a little early to say for absolute certain, but probably November the 5th, and I'll show you why. Again, Dmitry was told the fall of America will start with an internal revolution in America started by the communists. Some of the people will start fighting against the government. The government would be busy with internal problems. Then from the oceans, Russia, Cuba, Nicaragua, Central America, Mexico, and two of the countries would attack and destroy America in 1 hour. Now, talking about Central America, look at this. Venezuela attack. My former colleagues in the intelligence community have relayed to me this morning that the Trump administration has made the decision to militarily attack the country of Venezuela, specifically Venezuela military bases, airports, and other key government facilities. Now, we all want to say, oh, yeah, that's the thing to do because they've been sending all the drugs to America. Well, if you remove the people that are purchasing the drugs, then the drugs aren't being bought. That means no one is going to make them. Now, I know you're probably saying, yeah, but we can't stop people from using the drugs. Well, like President Xi told Trump, quick trial and then execute. And that would be the way, of course, America will never do that, but that would be a solution. We won't do that, but that would be a solution. But let me go on. He says it's not known how many sleeper cells. Now we're talking. How many sleeper cells from Venezuela are already in the United States? The violent criminal gang Tren de Aragua is already known to be in the U.S. from Venezuela and directly tied to the Venezuelan government. In other words, so we go down and attack Venezuela. Oh, and there's more to this. And then what happens? Bridges get blown up, dams get blown up, cars get riddled with automatic machine guns as they're driving down the freeway. Venezuelans inside the USA could retaliate with violent, destructive acts here inside our own country. The prophecy does not say some of the people of the United States. It just says some of the people living in the United States. So could that be Venezuelans? It could be. Next, the plot thickens. Russian military arrives in Venezuela. Okay, so we sent help over to Ukraine when Russia invaded. Now we're about to invade Venezuela. And guess what? Russia is sending equipment to Venezuela to help Venezuela. Earlier this week, Russian President Vladimir Putin signed a strategic cooperation agreement with Venezuela, covering defense, political, economic sectors. Afterwards, the Russian military cargo planes began arriving. Some 34 tons of what they believe to be air defense systems and air-to-air missiles, meaning we start flying our whatevers, our missiles, our airplanes, whatever, over Venezuela, and all of a sudden it's not Venezuelan antiquated equipment firing at us. It is the most modern Russian equipment that might be able to take our planes out of the sky, our missiles out of the sky. Given the U.S. military buildup to the coast of Venezuela, the probability that Russian transferred possible air defense advanced, I'm going to put in there, advanced equipment, or worse, anti-ship weapons is a significant deployment or development. Okay, so We know that Central America, as in Venezuela is part of Central America, is going to be part of the nations that attack us. Maybe what Trump is doing is actually stirring up the hornet's nest. Maybe what he's about to do is to take a stick and go down and hit a big, bad hornet's nest that normally would have nothing to be able to come against us with. But our good buddies, the Russians, are going to help them out. Do you see a problem? I see a problem. I see prophecy being fulfilled. I see the hand of God taking his great nation down because why? Well, we see people protesting. And have you watched what they say on their signs? Oh, yeah, well, the news doesn't even show you what is written on a lot of their signs because it is so filthy, they can't put it. And have you heard what they say? It's F-bomb here, F-bomb there, SOB this, and all kinds of filth coming out of the mouth. Now we're about to elect a communist to the largest city in America, New York City. They say some 30% of the people voting are recent arrivals to New York City. Okay, so what God is doing is bringing this nation down because we've turned against Jesus. Not only that, but the people coming into the nation never found Jesus and don't want him. So consequently, God is looking at the hearts of everyone living in the 50 states. U.S. has been supplying Ukraine weapons to use against Russia. Now Russia is returning the favor. There is more. FBI stops potential terrorist attack in Michigan. I'm not going to read it all, but the point is some of the people, and apparently we might be able to say many of the people, not just some, but many of the people are starting to fight against the government. Oh, then the government is fighting against the government. Mayor Brandon signs ICE-free zones, and he's basically telling ICE, we don't want you here. We want you to leave all of the criminals on the streets. Why? Because we're communists. We want to see the Christian nation brought down. It goes on to say, we will not tolerate ICE agents violating a resident's constitutional rights. Lie number one. Constitutional rights, nor will we allow the federal government to disregard our local authority. Lie number two. ICE agents are detaining elected officials, tear gassing protesters, children. Lie number three. The Chicago police officers, four, they're not tear gassing Chicago police officers. I mean, when the tear gas goes off, it floats in a lot of directions. And abusing Chicago residents. Lie number five. We will not stand for that in our city, said Mayor Brandon Johnson. With this executive order, Chicago stands firm in protecting the constitutional rights. Okay, so ICE has a constitutional duty, not just a right, but a duty to go in and arrest illegals, criminals. Even if they weren't illegal, they're criminals. And 70% of them are criminals, whatever nation they're from. Let's go on. If you have not called 800-200-GOLD, and if you have a pile of money, and if you don't want to lose it, I think you're making a mistake. It doesn't hurt, doesn't cost you anything. Call them. Call them. Dare them. Say, here's my situation. Am I okay, or do you recommend something? See what they say. Maybe they don't have anything to recommend. Maybe they do, especially if you have an IRA or a 401k. Okay. The fall of America will start with an internal revolution. Do you think it started? Oh, watch. I just found some information. Let me remind you first, Coverstone. Back in 2020, this is just one paragraph from his dream. I saw the man, that would be the angel that comes to him in the dream. I saw the man that I'd seen in the previous dream stand in the place where the president gives the State of the Union address. He tapped the microphone 3 times and stated in a loud voice, "A house divided against itself shall not stand." So these people that think they're taking back their democracy when we're really a republic, they don't understand. Those nuclear weapons from Russia will burn them to a crisp, just like it'll be anyone else that's still there then. And the emphasis was on the word shall. He then pushed the microphone down, walked out the door, flipped off the lights, and walked out. Meaning, God's not going to put up with it. He is not going to put up with people that are trying to destroy his Christian nation. He's saying, okay, you want to destroy it? I'll help you. Then, now I'm going to read most of this because this is Michael Snyder. He continues to amaze me. His research abilities are beyond compare. He's very, very good. Title is, Anti-Trump groups are planning to occupy Washington, D.C. for months starting on, here it is, November the 5th. The people organizing the occupation of Washington, D.C. that will begin on November the 5th actually believe, here it will result in the end of the Trump presidency. What's that sound like to you? That's some of the people fighting against the government. The definition of a revolution is when the people of the nation violently overthrow the government of that nation. So, it may be that, excuse me, my voice, it may be that it takes a few months for us to see it, but it may be that November the 5th is officially the start of the internal revolution. I know we've been watching for that. We'll continue to watch for it, but this may be it. Okay, let's keep going. Anti-Trump groups have been planning this occupation for months. It has been kind of gone under the radar because the government shutdown, the imminent cutoff of the food stamp benefits, have been dominating the headlines lately. This isn't going to be like a No Kings protest, in other words, a small one, where people show up and wave banners for a few hours, then go home. Instead, organizers intend for this upcoming Occupation Washington, I'm going to show you, to be like the Occupy Wall Street movement of 2011, the Black Lives Matter movement of 2020. Their plan is to literally stay in Washington, D.C. until, look at it, President Trump is forced out of the White House. What do you call that? That's an internal revolution. Let me show you more. So he goes on to say, November 5th, thousands of activists have been mobilized over the past few months, will surround the White House, the Capitol, and the Supreme Court. Organizers believe that this will encourage many more protesters to join them. Of course, if the government shutdown is not ended, and here it is, I don't think the government shutdown is going to end, ever. I think they're simply going to move into a new constitution. As I said, look at the flag behind me. New constitution, new new laws, new president, President Trump, and what else? Massive arrests, new currency system. Of course, the government shutdown is not ended, and food stamp benefits are still cut off. As these protests begin, it will definitely motivate a lot of very angry people to show up. So, it's not just the people that hate Trump, and there's plenty of those, but it's also the 42 million people that just got their income cut off, and they're mad. Now, does that sound like an internal revolution? 42 million people get cut off on their, yep, Ultimately, organizers hope that millions of Americans will participate in this movement. They're calling this the biggest nonviolent mobilization in U.S. history, and it may just be that. And they plan to keep showing up day after day until President Trump is removed from power. That's the third time they've said it. This is directly, well, here, let me show you what's actually on their website. The time has come for the fall of the Trump fascist regime. Never mind, it's not fascist. They don't understand the meaning of fascist. Beginning November the 5th, 2025, Washington, D.C. refuse fascism, all out for No King's Day. Next is November 5th. And it gives you the way you can contact them there. But I'm going to read most of this. Watch Sanceras Taylor's presentation at Refuge Fascism's October 15th Forum at Advent Lutheran Church in New York City. So we have a church participating in the internal revolution that will eventually destroy our nation. What did Dmitry get told? In the church, there's all kinds of sin. There's abortion, adultery, fornication, sodomy, all kinds of sin, and here participating in the fall of our nation. Another spokesman for Refuse Fascism call for November the 5th are available for interviews. The time has come for the fall of the Trump fascist regime beginning November the 5th, 2025, Washington, D.C. What do you call that? I'll read it again. The time has come for the fall of the Trump fascist regime beginning November the 5th. What do you call that? You call that a call for an internal revolution. Fascism is not a looming threat, it is now upon us. Humanity's only hope is for the decent people of this country. See, that's what the Antichrist does. He pits his people as the good people and the Christians as the bad people. The decent people of this country to rise in our millions. We cannot wait for future rigged elections. Think of it as they attack and they accuse us of what they're doing. They're the ones that are rigging the elections. We must drive the Trump fascist regime from power. Internal revolution. Beginning November 5th, the one-year anniversary of Trump's election, flood D.C. in nonviolent protests, surround the White House, surround the Capitol, surround the illegitimate fascist-packed Supreme Court. Come back again and again across the country, refuse to comply. Refuse to comply. Internal revolution. Every person of conscience, millions of us together, grind the machinery of the fascist regime to a halt. They're calling for an internal revolution. Don't stop until Trump is removed. The Trump fascist regime is illegitimate. What it is demanding, we become unconscionable. At every level of society, in every institution, tens of millions of us know this is in our bones. If we dare, we can defeat a horror that threatens humanity's very survival. If we fail to even try, future generations, if they exist, will never forgive us. Oh, it's not done. The Trump fascist regime is shredding the rule of law. Now, I could count the lies in this, which is just about everything they say. Making a mockery of due process, disappearing immigrants and other brown-skinned people into brutal concentration camps. I laugh, but they're serious. Aggressively resurrecting genocidal white supremacy. See, they're pitting the colors of our skin against each other. Reversing the gains not only of the 60s, but even the Civil War and Reconstruction. Enslaving women through the brutality and suffocation of forced motherhood. What? Okay. So are you telling me that Trump is handcuffing women, making them lay in beds, produce babies? I mean, okay, but see, stupid, evil people write this, and sad to say, stupid, evil people believe it, and stupid, evil people will go out and get behind it. That's the problem. Trampling democratic rights, violating international law. What? Illegitimately deploying the military on U.S. soil. Actually, he's followed the law. Illegitimately deploying the military on U.S. soil, assaulting and threatening politicians and judges. Okay, I mean, it's like, what planet did you live on? Because this is not right. Paving the way for boundless terror against the people, accelerating climate collapse. I mean, I laugh, but it's going to destroy our country. Cutting science and medicine, costing millions of lives, depleting humanity's store of knowledge, destroying truth, drowning out reason, subjugating the arts to fascist cruelty and conformity, targeting everything that is decent, moral, and good, all at the whim of a debased lunatic tyrant. They really believe this stuff. And it's about to destroy our nation, say the prophets. Hopes of waiting this out are an illusion. Every accommodation, even in the name of preserving some ability to do some good, only fuels the regime's demand for even more slavish submission. I didn't look up the word slavish. Every capitulation, even universities, law forms, agencies, only feeds its ravenous hunger to remake all of society in its grotesque image. This is fascism. Actually, that's not fascism. A different form of brutal rule. It cannot be lived with. It must be defeated. The elections are way too late. Besides, no honest person can expect the tyrant who instigated and then pardoned the January 6th insurrectionists to respect an election he loses. But there is a way. We have protested, marched, defended neighbors from ICE, decried genocide. Some of us have resigned or blown the whistle. This shows we are millions, many more of us than of them. Now we must take all this higher. We must direct all this and more. I would stop reading this, except for it's just too important, okay? More towards the only thing that truly measures up to the existential threat to humanity. It's ridiculously funny because we know it's not even close to the truth. But at the same time, there's millions of people that are going to buy into this. The whole Trump fascist regime must be driven out of power. That's an internal revolution. This is calling for an internal revolution. And if Trump and his buddies knew what we knew, they would be sending people out, shutting this site down. They would be shutting down the news networks, whatever is pumping this up. And they would be shutting it down because we're about to lose our nation if we don't. This can be done by refusing to surrender the future and our humanity to a vengeful fascist maniac, many millions rising in massive, unrelenting, it'll turn violent, protest and resistance by defying and refusing to comply with fascist dictates or the law, by walking out, shutting down, by fiercely using our platforms and influence to inspire and challenge others to join us. By doing this, day after day, coming back stronger in the face of attack and repression, united, not divided, across many viewpoints and backgrounds, fostering a collective spirit of courage and righteous, you don't know what righteous is, righteous fury, willing to sacrifice for the greater good, this is not good, of defeating this fascism, of destroying this nation. We begin now on Wednesday, November the 5th, from the constellation. We pour into D.C. From that day forward. We don't stop until a regime is removed or an internal revolution is started. History is full of examples where people had the right on their side, fought against tremendous odds, and were victorious. It is also full of examples of people passively hoping to wait it out, only to get swallowed up by the horror beyond what they ever imagined. It's almost done. The future is underwritten. Which one we get is up to us, in the name of humanity. Well, at least they aren't saying in the name of Jesus. We refuse to accept a fascist America. The fascist Trump regime must go, and it gives all the details there. Anyway, this is the rest of the website, but let me get to the point. November the 5th. Look at that date. So as I'm recording this is Friday, Halloween, 10/31/25 at 12:52 p.m. So this is going to be Monday's program, as in November the 3rd's program. So that means in a couple of days, these guys are going to start what is probably going to, history will show, as the internal revolution starting. As for the confirmation, Trump officials are moving into military bases over assassination fears. In September, TPUSA founder and top executive Charlie Kirk was assassinated, as everybody knows. And many of the left cheered and laughed his brutal murder. In other words, people in our government know this is not a joke, and many of them are moving to military bases and their families to safety because this is about to get violent. Now, Stan, what do you think is going to happen? I don't think Trump is going to give up. I think he will pull out the military, sign the Insurrection Act, and now those 500 military fast, quick response units in all 50 states are about to be very busy. And this time, they spit and we hit, says Trump. So we're about to see a lot of arrests. And then in the middle of this, all of a sudden, out of the snap, all of the government free welfare is cut off, 42 million people, and that's a bunch more angry people. And to top that off, they also come up with a new currency system that killed the old dollar. You think people are mad? You ain't seen nothing yet. Then massive arrests, and I'm not talking about the illegals. I'm not talking about protesters. I'm talking about people like Adam Schiff, Nancy Pelosi, and there's rejoicing in the streets. So at the same time, we see people angry and ready to kill over the Trump administration, all of these No Kings protests, and now this, whatever they call this protest. All of a sudden, America is in turmoil. There's a bunch of people on the good side that says, we're not going to sit down on this one. We're not going to stay on the bench. we're going to get back our country. And so the good side starts fighting like we've never seen before. And the bad side starts fighting like we've seen before. But all of a sudden, both sides are fighting like we've never seen before. And while there's rejoicing in the streets that some bad people are arrested, there's also a lot of blood being shed. When you have, 14 million? I don't even know how many guns we have and bullets. How long is it going to be before one of the good side gets shot by one of the bad side, vice versa? American blood starts flowing in American streets. We're in an internal revolution. We're seeing our electrical outlets blowing up, dams blowing up, people getting, some gets up on a high point, just starts shooting down at a freeway with automatic weapons. Maybe he doesn't hit too many people, but when you start getting a bunch of holes in cars, the people stop driving. Okay, so I mean, it wouldn't take much to upset our delicate, very blessed economy. Our world, I'm trying to tell you, our world is about to change starting Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, or at least by mid-February, obviously by mid-November, and probably by the end of the year. Okay, so he's already told he wants these 550 fast response National Guard teams ready to go by January. Well, he might be needing them before January. And then, of course, they've got the tribunals starting January the 12th. We've covered that. So the next 3 months are going to be very interesting. Speaking of that, yes, Prophecy Club is still in need. I'm so embarrassed to have to ask again, but we need your help. We need your help. We're just about to hit red again. So if God has blessed you and you can help us, I would really appreciate it. Thank you very much. If you don't want to lose your life's savings, if you have an IRA or a 401k, the thing to do is call 800-200-GOLD. 800-200-GOLD. These folks are Christians and they specialize in helping people not lose their life savings in the event of a stock market crash and things like that. Look, most of the 401ks, most of the IRAs are in paper, backed by paper. And as Lindsey Williams says, if it's in paper, it's worth the paper it's written on. You can lose it all. 1-800-200-GOLD. 800-200-GOLD. Hey, give them a call. Doesn't hurt. Doesn't cost you anything. See if they can give you some good advice. When the suitcase nukes, I didn't say if, I said when the suitcase nukes go off, if you want your car to start, if you want your computers and your refrigerators and things like that, anything with a computer chip to work, you want to have one of these from EMPShield.com. EMPShield.com. And they have videos up there. It takes about 10 minutes to put on. It's not complicated at all. And if you use the word prophecy, promo code prophecy, you get a $50 discount and it helps your Prophecy Club. If you want to be on the end of making money, gold and silver is preserving your money. If you want to be on the end of making money, then you might want to call prophecyclubcrypto.com or actually go to it or call that number in the bottom right corner. Ask them about crypto if you're in the position where you can make money.